In the midst of the many lessons and examples, hints and suggestions that we read in the Gospels about Jesus and his ministry, as in the midst of all of this, it in part instructs us on what it means to be Christian, what it means to be church, what it means to follow Jesus. We have stumbled into some of the most serious of his lessons and continue to walk through it in today's passage. This coming from chapter 9, I'll invite you to read aloud together the words in the white print. I'll read that in yellow. About 8 days after Jesus said this, he took Peter, John, and James with him and went up onto a mountain to pray.
As he was praying, the appearance of his face changed, and his clothes became as bright as a flash of lightning.
Two men, Moses and Elijah, appeared in glorious splendor, talking with Jesus.
They spoke about his departure, which he was about to bring to fulfillment at Jerusalem.
Peter and his companions were very sleepy, but when they became fully awake, they saw his glory and the two men standing with him.
As the men were leaving Jesus, Peter said to him, "Master, it is good for us to be here. Let us put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." He did not know what he was saying.
While he was speaking, a cloud appeared and covered them. They were afraid as they entered the cloud.
A voice came from the cloud, saying, "This is my son, whom I have chosen. Listen to him."
When the voice had spoken, they found that Jesus was alone. The disciples kept this to themselves and did not tell anyone at that time what they had seen. Please don't misunderstand what I'm about to say as if I were being political. But it's an observation on a growing and effective use of a political process. A certain member of the United States Senate running for re-election is pictured by his opposition as standing alongside people in their thinking with infamous names like Pelosi and Schumer and Obama and Clinton. He himself has recently projected an image that he stands alongside, in part, people with the names like Trump and Reagan. Why? Because people will judge you and identify you by who you're standing with. Ask former Senator Richard Lugar if it matters who you're standing with when pictures are displayed. Because his opposition in a primary suggested he was something of a traitor because he stood in the Oval Office with the President of the United States from a different party. Who you stand with helps identify who you are, rightly or wrongly. Jesus has just asked his disciples, "Who do you say that I am? Who are the people saying that I am?" Is anybody getting this yet? And certainly a violent debate will continue to grow in his ministry is and by what authority he does and says what he does and says. So this particular moment on a mountaintop, we see Jesus pictured standing alongside Moses and Elijah. Moses, the representation of the Torah, the law, the traditional guidelines, commandments, identity statement of the Jewish faith. Elijah, representing the history and tradition of the prophets of Israel, understood by many of them to be not only as an historical figure, but someone who will re-emerge at some point in the future. Jesus standing along the two greatest figures in traditional Judaism. Transfigured, glowing, white and pure, a voice from the cloud saying, "This is my son, listen to him." You could not get a more potent endorsement. The voice of God and the two most prominent people in the history of your faith. Certainly this is clear enough evidence of who Jesus is, of where his authority comes from, and that as they are instructed, people should listen to him. Not get caught up in the petty debates, not get caught up in the ongoing jealousies, not get caught up in this fear of transition, in this blind service to tradition. But listen to him. This is the message of God. Very clear, very straightforward. This should change everything. But it doesn't. And why doesn't this change anything? There's two reasons. One, the only witnesses are clueless. We probably would be too. I don't know what you think about these kind of spiritual, kind of supernatural experiences in life, but I bet if you've had one, you don't go telling too many people about it. These men, in their confusion, in the extraordinary moment, are clueless. Represented by Peter, who says, "Hey, let me build some tents for you." Like, that's what this is all about. I wonder whether that isn't indeed something that Christianity learned best. We don't know what else to do. Let's build another building. Let's find some sort of concrete thing we can erect here, because that's all we know what to do. They're clueless. They missed the momentous spiritual occasion right in front of them and responded terribly inappropriately. And the second thing is, once they came down off the mountain, they didn't tell anybody anything. Something that perhaps could have or should have changed everything. Accomplished nothing in its time because of the confusion of the witnesses and their reluctance to tell anybody. Now, it might very well have been a good thing for them to have kept their mouth shut, considering how confused they were. But I have to ask myself, because it's the way my brain works, 2,000 years later, how much is still not being accomplished and how much is still not changing because the people of God, the followers of Jesus, still are befuddled about what Jesus wants, who he is, and what he's calling us to do. And, or, even if we get it, we don't tell anybody about it. What is it they say? It's better to remain silent and look like a fool than to open your mouth and remove any doubt. It should have changed everything, but it didn't. So what can we do about that? What, in your experience, what in your perspective needs to be changed? Is it global conflict? Is it the human drive to dominate and compete and win that's willing to destroy anything in its path in order to rise to the top? Whether it's economic war or electronic war or feet on the battlefield of war. Is it just the way human beings are? Does that all need to change? Global? Is there something national that needs to change? Maybe statewide, maybe countywide, maybe in the local communities, maybe in the congregation, maybe in your family. The changes that so often come to mind, generally, I think, involves someone else changing. If only they would change. If only we could get them to see things differently. If only we could somehow help them see things my way, we can solve these problems. Who was it? Gandhi and others who reminded us that the challenge in life is to be the change you want to see in the world. No, mess with me, right? Don't tell me that I have to change. Don't invite me to be the change. I'd rather sit here and tell everybody else what they need to do because it's so much easier. I love to pick on the disciples in the Gospels. They were such idiots. They were so clueless. And even when they got it, they usually failed. It's not quite as fun to look in the mirror and see another one. I'm just the latest disciple, incompetent, inadequate, in need of great change and improvement. So many more lessons to learn. discover with experience and age of how many mistakes I've made. I'll simply leave you with this. A reaffirmation of what you know and what you've been told and what has been said. That because each one of us as individuals are a part of the greater whole of this global creation. Whenever one part changes, it changes the whole. And the most potent way that you can actually change the world is to make the changes in yourself that you feel called to make. There might be changes in behavior. Your attitude has already changed, your values have already changed, but the behavior is kind of dragging behind. You're not really doing what you believe you should be doing. Your priorities aren't really what you believe they need to be. Simple changes, perhaps some of them. Maybe the change is as simple as to be determined to stop being silent about what you believe. Not an invitation to go and tell everybody how they are wrong and how you were right, but an invitation to share the love and grace that's already poured into you that you want to share and somehow you can't find a voice. An invitation to offer compassion to those who are being hurt, to offer words of correction to those who are doing the hurting. To stand up and be heard. Even at the risk of looking and sounding like a fool. Because it is foolish to think that one thing you do or one thing you say can change the whole world. But it's exactly what Jesus did. Let us pray. So much easier, oh God, to let others do the changing, or to close our eyes and pretend it isn't happening, or to do nothing. So much easier, oh God, to just leave it in your hands and not do what we can and are called to do. Not say what we can and are called to say. But give us wisdom and courage to help build the world that you called us to create, filled with justice, filled with peace, one step at a time. In Jesus' name.